Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? It's Jeff. Hope everybody's having a relatively good day. Now that the weekend's coming, I got a couple of videos here for this first segment. I got one from iHip News, and have another here from Konkolinsky. So this first video is about, pertaining to the crash that happened in Washington. So let's go to that video there, and then we'll come back and discuss that one.
Elon Musk had a SpaceX rocket ship that crashed over the Caribbean, and the FAA grounded SpaceX because they had to divert commercial airliners all over, and it put people in danger because of all of the debris. Fast forward, Trump wins. Elon Musk bullies the FAA administrator, who still had a lot of years in his term, bullies him to resign because all he cares about is getting his rockets back up in the air. And instead of taking personal accountability for this greed, this selfishness, and this recklessness, they blame gay people and Black people. Specifically, when you hear this DEI stuff, it is targeted at former Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, who is a out of the closet gay man. He happens to be brilliant. He happens to be a Rhodes Scholar. He happens to be competent. He happens to have empathy. But let's listen to the convicted felon psychopath, Donald Trump, after 67 people died yesterday because of their abject incompetence. Let's listen to him blame marginalized groups.
Mr. President, you have today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistakes. You then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
Okay, let me just start by saying the lack of empathy, the lack of accountability, it is mind-boggling. The fact that he cannot take accountability for anything that happens that's good, even under Biden's term, he took credit for. Now, he is the president. His best friend / co-president caused the FAA director to resign. And instead of taking accountability, he blames marginalized groups. The racism is appalling. It is so, this took my breath away. And of all the things that Trump has said over the years, this stopped me in my tracks. This is right up there with stand back and stand by and good people on both sides. Anybody that does not think this man is a vile racist is not living in reality. This man is irresponsible. He is delusional. And it is absolutely stunning that a president of the United States whose makeup looks that bad would get on TV after people died on his watch and blame it on marginalized group with no evidence whatsoever. And just for the record, the two pilots of the American Airlines were both white males. So there's not a whole lot of DEI in that. It just infuriates me.
Well, I think it's really important to note that right now,
the corporate media is taking the bait and they are saying, oh, the DEI program started here under Trump and then started here and then started there. Instead of saying these moves immediately following the inauguration of Donald Trump put lives at risk because Elon Musk has a myopic focus on his SpaceX rockets. These rockets put commercial airliners at risk. And instead, they're taking the bait and they're talking about DEI. And it's really important to note that for decades, the Republican Party has institutionalized homophobia. They institutionalized it during George W. Bush's election with the gay marriage amendment. You have all of these Christian schools, hate academies, that have the parents sign contracts that say that they oppose any marriage that isn't godly between a man and a woman. So this homophobia is simmering and it's sitting there. And all of the people in the base, when he says DEI, everybody knows he's talking about Pete Buttigieg, number one, and number two, Austin Lloyd, because this accident pertains to two different departments: the Secretary of Defense, meaning the Black Hawk, and the Secretary of Transportation, meaning the FAA and the airplane. They're trying to blame it on Biden DEI. Well, who do you have? Lloyd Austin as a black man, Pete Buttigieg is a gay man. That's what they're doing, and their base goes along with it because they have been brainwashed and indoctrinated to this notion, this horrific notion that somehow only white men are capable and able to do this. And the irony of him standing up there, the most incompetent person with that ridiculous looking Oompa Loompa face with zero empathy, and you see it crystal clear, the cruelty is the point, but all of his MAGA loyalists, the triple downers, the ones who voted for him 3 times in a row, they all know exactly what he's signaling. And this is a slam on Lloyd Austin, who was supremely qualified for his job. And the same with Pete Buttigieg. Make no mistake about it. When we were saying over and over and over again, if racism is not a deal breaker for you, then you are a problem, because racism and homophobia is a deal breaker for me. That's why I fight so passionately for human rights. And then you see now what happens when these incompetent white men, and all they care about is profit. 67 families are waking up this morning and they're going to want to know why. Why? And I'll tell you why. Because Elon Musk wants to be able to blast rockets all over the place. And he was mad that the FAA rightfully grounded his rockets. And that's what led to the bullying and the dismantling of the FAA. And we're like, what, 10 days in and 67 people are dead? Just the lack of accountability is mind blowing. But another comment that Trump made in an Oval Office in response to this crash, it was so crass and so flippant and so devoid of empathy. Play the clip.
Of the victims of the plane crash.
I don't want to comment on that.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of the
I have a
first
plan
responders?
to visit, not the site, because you tell me what's the site, the water?
Or to meet with
Want
the
me to go
first
swimming?
responders down there?
I don't have a plan to do that, but I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously, but I'll be meeting with some of the families, yeah.
Do you want me to go swimming? What a dick. Just what a dick. Just no empathy. I mean, the lack of empathy just jumps off the page at me. This is a person who's never had empathy. This is a person who traffics in cruelty. This is a person who has millions of followers that traffic in cruelty. This is a person who plays into the institutionalized and systemic white supremacist rule, and he has these tens of millions of bullshit followers with zero conviction other than their own personal lives, and they believe that that man is going to save them. Please support our show by supporting our sponsor, and then we're going to get back and analyze Trump's flippant comment. Now back to what he said at the Resolute desk. And I'm not surprised anymore. I am surprised at how the media continues to brainwash him, that they are taking the bait
and trying to say, well, the DEI started here and then Trump continued the policy and then there and then here, instead of saying Trump is trying to blame homosexuals and people of color for his own administration's incompetence. That's the headline. That is the headline. But they go down these rabbit holes with him, and it is so hurtful and it is so dangerous. And the fact that another headline is Trump says, what do you want me to do? Go swimming? I mean, you know, we went from having Joe Biden, who really had a lot of empathy. Yes. Was he old? Yes. Donald Trump is old and he's cruel. And he is, I mean, literally a sociopath, a malignant narcissist. And to the tens of millions of Americans that support him and do the moral and mental gymnastics to get behind this guy, fuck you. I'm serious. This is disgusting. Also, Elon Musk can have more rockets. Seriously?
Well, what Elon Musk needs is more money, which one thing that I read about Elon Musk is the FAA wanted not only to ground his fleet, but to fine him $600,000. And so he just threw a baby fit about it because he's as allergic to accountability as Trump is. There is no accountability in this administration, full stop.
This is so sad. And it's when somebody dies like this, and we have 67 of them, and the families try to get up and piece together what happened because it was avoidable. This accountability in the media is the only thing that can take this to him. This is not Joe Biden's fault. This is not Lloyd Austin's fault. This is not Pete Buttigieg's fault. And all of you blaming DEI are nothing short of racist, homophobes. And that's the end of that. That's exactly what you are. And what you have are incompetent white men that only care about advancing and enriching their own corporations. And they're all in cahoots together. So every time, every single one of you with your MAGA coded t-shirts on goes through TSA and climbs onto an airplane, and you're up in that bird over an ocean or over a piece of land, you know, tens of thousands of feet in the air, you remember that Elon Musk, the guy who allegedly snorts ketamine and does Nazi salutes, he's the one that is taking control over the FAA. You just remember that when you're on that plane with your little darlings, because that's what your MAGA vote gets you. And they're going to try to blame people that are no longer in office, and the buck stops with these assholes.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, at the end of the day, this incompetence is causing death. Sorry, my dog's behind me.
Okay, we'll see you all later.
Okay, so yes, the FAA tried to fine Elon Musk $600,000 for that goddamn rocket that blew up over the Caribbean, and put debris everywhere, where it was so bad that they had to divert flights all over the damn place. And so, you know, he got mad at the FAA, which Pete Buttigieg was running at the time, and you know, he got pissed, and they forced him out, essentially, I guess. But this DEI program that Donald Trump has been scapegoating here as, you know, the reason why it happened, first is bullshit. Second, he started that fucking program, okay? He started that before he left office in his first term, all right? And now he's bitching about it, okay? And, you know, the media, they won't confront him with that for some reason. They're not really trying to say, well, look, you made this, you know? And now you're saying, you know, that that's the core reason why, and it doesn't make any sense. What does diversity have to do with working in the FAA? You know, it doesn't make any sense. So, you know, people are saying, you know, his answers are stupid, and it doesn't answer really anything. He's just kind of evading and double talking and word salad, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And then he turns around and he says, they ask him, are you going to go visit the site with the crash? He's like, you know what, the site's just water. What do you want me to do, go swimming? I mean, talk about an asshole finding kind of an answer, you know, for something serious. I mean, Jesus. You know, and of course, like I said, you know, the MAGA will sit there and allow their own, one of their own, their king, their orange god, to sit there and tarnish them. I mean, their image. I mean, because, hey, look, he represents them. And when he acts like an idiot, he makes them all look like idiots, okay? So, you know, I just feel like this is ridiculous, you know, that, you know, the media really isn't coming down on this, you know, like they should. But I got this other, this little article here. Hold on a second. Now, yesterday I had said in the video that I had, like, hesitation to say that this all really is on Trump's back here, that this happened. Now, I'm not saying that what he did in the last week or so it was a good thing, but you know, this article here from Al Jazeera, written by Louis Jacobson and Lauren Takiro. They got a section. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read this couple of paragraphs here. It says, in his first week in office, Trump announced sweeping personnel changes, including a hiring freeze. But aviation experts said Trump had done little that could have precipitated the crash between a commercial jet from Wichita, Kansas, and a military Black Hawk helicopter. There was simply too little time, less than 10 days after Trump was sworn in, for any of his broadly worded executive orders to have had an effect, experts said. Although the Transportation Safety Administration, the United States Coast Guard, and the Aviation Security Advisory Committee all play roles in aviation safety, quote, the actions by President Trump would not have led to such an immediate impact, unquote, said Jim Cardoso, a former U.S. Air Force colonel and pilot who is now senior director of the University of South Florida's Global and National Security Institute. Quote, all the processes to control and deconflict air traffic in the D.C. area have been well established for a long time, unquote, Cardoso said. Quote, the personnel involved in the accident, air crew from the two aircraft, and the air traffic controllers in place at the time of the accident would similarly not have been affected by the recent policy changes in Trump's executive orders since January the 20th. It's also unwise to speculate on causes so soon after a crash, said John Cox, a retired pilot who runs at St. Petersburg, Florida-based aviation and security consulting firm. Quote, at this point, we don't know enough, unquote, Cox said on January the 30th. Anyone who argues that a specific factor caused the crash not even 24 hours after it happens is making an argument without foundation, he said. Cox said the international standard for determining what caused a crash, quote, is not to speculate, you stay with the facts. The idea is that it's more important to get the right answer than a politically motivated one, unquote. The investigation into this collision will likely take months. For now, here's what we know about what actions Trump has taken related to aviation and what effect, if any, they could have had on this crash. In January the 20th, executive order, Trump enacted a hiring freeze on federal civilian employees, stopping any open positions from being filled and any new positions from being created. However, this order exempted military personnel positions, quote, related to immigration enforcement, national security, or public safety, unquote. Air traffic control would be exempted from the hiring freeze because of its role in public safety, the White House told PolitiFact. The White House also said that unlike political appointees, air traffic controllers do not change between presidential administrations. On January the 21st, Trump signed the executive order quote, keeping Americans safe in aviation, unquote. It eliminated diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, hiring, and directed the Transportation Secretary and the Administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration to, quote, return to non-discriminatory merit-based hiring, unquote. It also ordered performance reviews for, quote, individuals in critical safety positions, unquote. Speaking to reporters on January the 30th, Trump blamed FAA diversity and inclusion hiring policies for the crash. but Cox said all the pilots and their air traffic controllers involved in the January 29 crash would, by definition, have undergone the required training requirements and, quote, met the standards to be in that job, unquote, and any adherence to DEI rules would not have changed that. The New York Times reported on January the 30th that staffing at the air traffic control tower was, quote, not normal for the time of day and volume of traffic, unquote, according to an internal preliminary FAA safety report. The Reagan Airport Tower has been understaffed for years, in part because of employee turnover and tight budgets, the Times reported. Meanwhile, the AP reported on January the 21st that Trump had fired TSA Administrator David Pekoski and Coast Guard Commandant Admiral Linda Fagan. However, the TSA's safety responsibilities generally revolve around the security screening of passengers, cargo, and aviation workers, not the operation of planes. And the Coast Guard focuses on maritime security. Trump also fired all members of the Aviation Security Advisory Committee, a group that includes representatives of private sector aviation groups. They advised the TSA administrator on aviation security. The group was scheduled to meet on February the 26th. It usually meets 4 times a year. An X post claimed that Trump fired 400, quote, senior officials, unquote, of the FAA and 3,000 air traffic controllers 8 days ago, but this is unsubstantiated, and the White House told PolitiFact that no air traffic controllers had been fired. In May 2024, CNN reported that based on FAA numbers, air traffic control stations were facing a shortage of 3,000 controllers, with concerns that worker shortages contributed to long shifts and exhaustion. So, this is a problem, you know, about this thing that goes back even through the Biden years, okay? Because apparently, hey, you know, that area, that airport in Washington, D.C. has always been understaffed, okay? And the policies that Trump had implemented recently are just too recent to have done anything to cause this crash, okay? It didn't take, you know, not enough time has gone by for these changes to actually be implemented in order for that to have affected what is now, which I kind of suspected. You know, it just seemed too soon after that all of a sudden, bang, you know, we have this, you know, it's just one of them accidents that happens. You can go years without having a big accident, and all of a sudden, bang, and that just, you know, people immediately get their, you know, their conspiracy antenna up and going the minute, you know, something happens at a certain point in political history here or whatever. They all think it's connected somehow, but like I said, I'm not saying that what he did, the policies he implemented, were good. I'm just saying that they hadn't had enough time to actually take effect to cause something like this to happen. And that'll be proven later on. If we have more crashes like this in this year or the next 3 years while he's president, then we'll know, okay, that his policies now have directly done something. But right now, this one thing is just, you know, that 1 in a million accident that happens, you know, and it just happened to happen while he was president, you know, for the first week or so of his presidency. But it doesn't necessarily mean that what he did has any connection to this crash, you know. And the issue about being understaffed is something that went back years, you know, before Trump took office. This has been an ongoing problem with Washington, D.C. and the control tower not having enough people in it. So that's something they should have fixed a long way back, and they never did. So, you know, there's blame enough to go around, okay, but like they said, it's too early to tell exactly what happened, and I'm sure it's going to take a while before they actually pinpoint, you know, the causes of this thing. Whether or not people want to believe those answers when they come out, that's up to you, okay? But it doesn't, you know, it just doesn't make any sense to really go right off on Trump here over something like that. Now, I got this other video here that talks about something that he has done, that Trump has done, that immediately affected people. Okay, and let's go to that video here.
All right, guys, so I wanted to show you this video. Let's not be sheltered from the real-world consequences of the decisions that Trump is making. As you all know, he did a massive spending freeze, and here's the kitty. Kitty. This is Salem. Everybody knows Salem. He does this every now and then. I don't want to shield anybody from the consequences of Trump's decisions. So as you all know, he froze federal government spending recently. And in the process of doing that, there were a lot of things that were supposed to be off the table, which are not now. So they froze even Medicaid spending. That's healthcare for 72 million. 72 million people, including disabled people, low-income people. They came out and said, oh, no, we didn't mean to do that. But you did do it. You froze the portals. Everybody now knows that, right? Head Start was frozen. Money for school lunch and school breakfast was frozen. Home heating assistance was frozen. Like all the stuff that was frozen, the laundry list is incredibly long. And this is not a little thing, right? This is a huge, huge deal with how many people were negatively affected by this, right? And so I want to show you this video. Here's somebody reacting to having her benefits cut. And now I have to say, there were some people, this was low. This was low. Some people were assuming she was a Trump supporter and shitting on her, like, hey, fuck around and find out, like, this is what you voted for. Well, it turns out she's not even a Trump voter, right? But even if this person was a Trump voter, which she's not, again, but even if she was, it's like, no, this is an opportunity to be like, hey, we did tell you, but now you know, so now, like, welcome. You're welcome here with open arms, and let's not vote for fascist psychopaths anymore, right? So the initial reactions were kind of gross and kind of disgusting, but here you go. I'll warn you in advance. This is actually tough to watch because you could see the incredible turmoil that this woman is feeling because of the devastating situation that Trump and the MAGA Republicans have put her in. Let's watch.
Somebody to fucking tell me they're lying. I need somebody to fucking tell me they're lying. I need somebody to fucking tell me they're lying right fucking now, because what the fuck do you mean that I'm not gonna get my fucking SNAP benefits? What the fuck do you mean? Because what the fuck is happening? Do you understand that there are people like me who cannot work? Do you understand there are people like me who have kids who cannot eat? Do you understand there are people like me who go hungry the last week of the month just so my kids can't eat? Because SNAP benefits is all we fucking get? I need somebody to please fucking tell me he's lying. I can't. What the fuck am I gonna do? Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, God. Breathe.
Says, I haven't eaten in 3 days because there isn't enough for all of us. So my kids eat and I wait. Not to put too fine of a point on it here, but this is conservatism. Just so you know. This is conservatism. And that's not me strawmanning it. That's not me unfairly attacking it. That's me describing it. This has been the wet dream of the right my entire life. The wet dream of the right is to destroy the administrative and regulatory state and destroy the social safety net. They don't believe in things like food stamps. They don't believe in things like home heating assistance. They don't believe in free school breakfast and lunch for kids. They don't believe in having an EPA that makes sure that corporations can't pollute the nearby river. They don't believe in having an NLRB that looks out for workers and unions. They don't believe in having a CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that looks out for consumers and customers who've been defrauded by big banks and financial institutions. They are currently in the process of gutting all of those things, mostly using illegal means, like Trump did in this recent thing that we've been talking about for the past few days. This is illegal. If Congress passes a bill and the president signs it, which is what happened in this instance, these were things signed by Biden, right? The spending was authorized by Congress, and then Biden signed the bill into law. The next president can't come in and say, I retroactively am vetoing the personal spending I don't like. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. That's illegal according to everybody, even right-wing judicial experts will tell you that exact same thing. So they're freezing this illegally, leading to a crisis, and they're trying to force through one of the wet dreams of Project 2025, which is basically the president is the unitary executive, and they get to not fund whatever they don't want to fund. And oh, would you look at that? They're not funding any of the things that help regular people and any of the things that crack down on big business overreach. So this is what it looks like, man. This is conservatism. This is MAGA. This is conservatism. This is the ideology. I warned you. I think a lot of people voted for Trump because they thought he would bring change, right? They thought, hey, maybe the Democrats are more of the status quo. Trump is going to bring change. And here's the thing. They're right that he's going to bring change. But the kind of change he's going to bring is revolutionary conservatism. And that's what you're witnessing here. I have a kitty hair in my throat, I think. That's what you're witnessing here. This is revolutionary conservatism. This is destroy the administrative state, destroy the regulatory state, destroy the social safety net, which helps regular people who are struggling. And this is the logical result. By the way, at the same time, this poor woman is breaking down because her benefits were cut. Trump did a freeze on foreign spending, but he allowed Israel to keep getting money and weapons. He allowed Egypt to keep getting money. So Israel can still get money, can still get weapons as they bomb babies on a daily basis, but she can't have food so she can eat. Do I understand that correctly? Yeah, I understand that correctly. He also came out and said, we're announcing a $500 billion package to fund AI. Trump did. He was surrounded by robber barons, tech bro robber barons, who were like, yeah, we're gonna fund it and we're gonna get some other investment, whatever, right? Trump's announced $500 billion to make AI so that the AI can eventually replace you and take your job. This is what they say openly. This is what the AI people say. Yeah, it's going to take your job. So let me get this straight. You whine and moan and bitch about immigrants coming to take people's jobs, but then in the next breath say, I can't wait for AI to take your job? So $500 billion for that, but this woman can't have money for a meal. This is conservatism. Government of, by, and for the robber barons. That's what it is. And they don't give a fuck about people like her. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. So I hope everybody wakes up. Look, I told you this before. I'll say it one more time. Before this is all said and done, Trump's approval rating will be 35% or lower. I think he'll be in Bush territory when he's finally done, 20-something percent. Because he's already acting like all laws of politics don't apply to them. Don't apply to him. And to be fair, for a long time, he's the best at overriding reality. We've seen him do it 1,000 times. 91 criminal charges, skates on all of them. We've seen it 1,000 times. But you can only outrun reality for so long. And when this is what's happening to your own citizens in your own country, it's not just liberals who are getting hit by this. There's plenty of conservatives, plenty of people who voted for Trump, who just got their benefits cut, who just couldn't access their health care because he froze Medicaid spending. How do you think they're going to react? Only the ones who are at the deepest level of the cult will see that happen and not blame you. But again, then you're left with what? Oh, I got a 28% approval rating. Okay, congrats. Let me know how that next election goes for you, right? So, assuming there is one. But there you have it. My heart goes out to this woman and everybody else who's struggling. This is conservatism. This is MAGA. This just is what it is. Let's be honest and call it out. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and...
All right, you see, so, you freeze something, like that, it hits right off. I mean, that's something that when he did do, bang, okay? That can be directly connected to his freezing of federal spending right there, which he isn't allowed to do. It was illegal for him to do that, but that's what he did. And you saw, it caused panic through the country here when people started to wonder, are we going to be left hanging here, And like Kyle says, hey, they don't care. The billionaires don't fucking care, because hey, if they see the government's not giving out money, then that means the government doesn't need taxes, and then they can even pay less in taxes, because the government's not going to need it. That's the only thing they're looking at here is how is it going to benefit them. In the meantime, they're going to throw these young mothers under the bus. Okay, oh, they're all for goddamn no abortion, but like people say, after that baby's born, okay, they don't give a fuck. All right, They don't care if that baby starves on the fucking street. But as long as it's in the womb, that kid better be born or they're gonna, you know. So, you see how stupid these people think, okay? He calls it revolutionary conservatism. I call it insanity, all right? There's nothing revolutionary about leaving people stranded on the street, homeless, destitute, and then not fucking do a goddamn thing to try to fix that. These people would care less if half the damn country was all homeless and destitute. They don't care. That's not revolutionary. Okay? That's just the extreme side of conservatism that's really, I mean, self-destructive. And the point is that how long do you think it's going to take for people to get sick of that and say enough is enough? Okay? And then what would be the step that they'll take next? Okay? Look, you saw how people on January 6th were all pissed off about Donald Trump not getting the White House. Okay? And that was just not Donald Trump not getting the White House. Imagine when you got all these people who have lost benefits and shit like that. Okay? How long do you think after that happens something will happen, will be sparked there? Okay? You think all those assassination attempts that Trump got while he was running for office were big deals? He's going to have to live his ass in a bunker under the White House to finish his term in office, because he's going to have a line of people with all holding numbers on attempts to go after him. That's what it'll lead to. Okay? People are just going to line up around the fucking block to go after him. Okay? We know that there's a limit to how much people will take, just like that guy Luigi there that shot that CEO, okay? There's a million other Luigis out there, okay, all waiting for the right time to strike. And you can't protect Trump forever from these people, you know? And like I said, you know, when this stuff happens, when he starts treating people like shit, okay, cutting them off food stamps, starving people, okay, taking away their medical aid and stuff that they need. Hey, you do that long enough, you're going to create a movement in this country that ain't going to look pretty, okay? It's going to make the January 6th rioters, you know, look like, you know, a circus that was there, okay? But the next one, you know, they're going to have to get the military out there to hold the line, okay? It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad, okay? But you know, a lot of people say, well, that's what he wants. That's what he wants to do. He wants to tear down the government. He wants to make it miserable, to make it, you know. It's like, okay, so let's say he does that. Then what? You know, what's the ultimate goal that MAGA has? They want a civil war? Do they really think that that's the answer? Because they don't know how that's going to turn out. A civil war in this country could go anyway. And it doesn't necessarily have to end the way they want it to end. Just like it didn't have to start the way they thought it would start. Okay? These kind of things are unpredictable. You know, it's a crapshoot. You want to start a civil war, you don't know how that fucking thing's... It's like they did it back in, you know, the old days here, right? You know, when it was the North and the South. The South thought they were going to win it, you know. Well, it didn't happen. You know. You don't know how these things are going to turn out. So, like I said, I ask, what's the point to put the country on that footing? Just to appease some old fuck in the White House that he can leave the White House knowing the country is in flames? That's it? That's the big goal? You know? How is that going to help you afford groceries? How is that going to help you live your life or get a job when the country's is burning? How? That's not an answer to a problem. That's not a solution. That's just taking a problem and snowballing it into a bigger problem. Okay? That's why we can't trust Republicans and MAGA to understand how to govern. They don't. To them, it's their way or the highway, and if they can't have it, they're going to destroy it so nobody can have it. Okay? People who think like that, a lot of them live in nut houses, you know, these people that think like that because they can't manage their own lives. Their own lives are chaotic, and oftentimes they end up committing crimes and they end up in prison. Those are people you don't want sitting in the White House or sitting in any seat of power, because they will lead the country right to its end, you know, without really thinking, because to them, they think what they're doing is right. And they won't listen to anyone that says that they're wrong. They don't, you know, these people don't believe in social safety nets, okay? For some, you know, they soaked up the fucking argument that the billionaires were putting out there for decades, you know, about, oh, everybody's getting handouts, okay? Yeah, like they were calling Social Security handouts. The idiots don't even realize that it's their own money they're getting back. It's not government money, it's your money. You've been paying into it your whole fucking life when you work. That's not a handout, it's your retirement coming back to you. It's not a handout any more than any money you put in a savings account is a handout from the bank. Jesus. But you see, they've soaked up that propaganda for so long that that's set in stone for them. And that's why it's impossible to argue with them, because they'll never see your side of it. They've been programmed to think differently. They live in an opposite world, as some people have said to me, you know. Okay, so let's go to a commercial break, and we'll come back with the third video here, and we'll discuss that one.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
He was the first president elected with the help of a hostile foreign power. That's not a hoax. It's the conclusion of the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee and every national security agency. And what did the Russians get helping elect Trump in 2016? Turns out they got a lot. For decades, the greatest adversary of the Soviet Union and Vladimir Putin's Russia was the Republican Party. Now the Republican Party is the heart of pro-Putin movement in American politics. That's why Donald Trump nominated Tulsi Gabbard, Moscow's sweetheart, for a critical national intelligence position. That's why he loves J.D. Vance's vicious attacks on Ukrainian freedom fighters. What happened to Republicans standing for freedom? Tens of thousands of Americans died fighting a European dictator. Now, an American president embraces a dictator at war with freedom. When Donald Trump was inaugurated, remember who else was celebrating? Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump together again.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
So let's go to this video here about a teacher that invited ICE to his school to take out some students that he thought they were illegal immigrants. So let's go to that.
And Fort Worth ISD says a substitute teacher commented on an X post calling for ICE to raid Northside High School. It says in part, quote, "I have so many students who don't even speak English. They have to communicate through their iPhone translator with me. The government should overhaul the Texas school system." Fort Worth ISD says the district is investigating the post, and per district protocol, the employee is not allowed on campus during the investigation.
Turns out that racist Texas teacher is now suffering the consequences of his own actions after inviting Trump's Gestapo into his school. And I say that because he's not just under investigation by the district, he's also under investigation apparently by Twitter sleuths, who have also uncovered even more disturbing tweets about his own students that's probably going to become part of the district's investigation as well. For example, in response to a tweet about Trump disbanding a school safety board to prevent school shootings, he responded to that saying, "I'm a teacher and I could care less." I think he means he couldn't care less. "Kids are horribly undereducated these days. I teach high school kids who are on an elementary school level." You know, this kind of feels like a self-report to me, because if your students are behind and you are their teacher, perhaps you are the reason why they're behind. But to show you what I mean, he responded to an attack on a supposedly woke, I guess, teacher by libs of TikTok with a barely literate post, which leads me to believe that he really is the culprit as to why his students are struggling. He said, "I teach with these fucking libtards every day, and that's what I talk to no one at work except the kids." I think he means that's why I talk to no one at work except the kids. But it's funny because, you know, you're saying everybody else is stupid, these libtards are stupid, these kids are stupid, but yet you're kind of talking like a caveman yourself. When you read it aloud, it sounds like a caveman. But I mean, I thought you said that you couldn't talk to the kids because they don't speak English, hence why you called ICE to deport them, right? But I mean, I feel like saying that he called ICE or called on ICE to deport his own students, that's not clear enough, because he didn't just subtweet ICE or casually float the idea in a random tweet. He literally replied to ICE to tell them to come for his students, to get their attention, so that way they do come for his students. So that's the kind of person that we're dealing with here, and I'm assuming that he expected ICE to just show up anyway after Trump opened the door to ICE raids being conducted in schools and also churches and hospitals. But it turns out it's not going to be that easy, because school districts around the country are taking action to protect their students, rightfully so. And those students are legally entitled to an education regardless of their immigration status. And that defense from teachers of their students has led to stochastic terrorist slobs like Libs of TikTok, whose fiance left her, by the way, melting down in response and accusing schools of breaking the law by educating immigrants about their rights. And, you know, if I had to guess, this teacher was also triggered like Chaya Raichik of Libs of TikTok when he saw the outpouring of support for immigrants in his own community.
A protest in Fort Worth on Sunday called for the protection of children in North Texas schools. A third-grade teacher in Fort Worth ISD says her students are afraid to come to class.
Yes, just on Friday, 3 of my parents said that they were not sending their kids to school anymore because they're afraid.
A fear Jeanette Martinez says an 8-year-old shouldn't have.
They don't know. They don't know all this is evil, and they're just trying to get an education. Children should not be afraid.
And that right there gives me hope. Seeing the community come together and speak out for those who can't speak for themselves right now is exactly what's needed at this moment. But at the same time, I've got to admit, it also enrages me because people shouldn't have to come out and say that. Like, we shouldn't be having to do any of this. People shouldn't have to say that children, regardless of their immigration status, shouldn't be afraid to go to school. I feel like a civilized society should just agree with that automatically. It should be the default moral position of everyone, but apparently not. And to be clear, children are the focus here because they're the most vulnerable, but nobody should be afraid for their lives. Nobody should be afraid to go to work. But that is the kind of climate that Trump has cultivated. And yesterday, I was talking to my niece, and she told me that since Trump has been in office, she's been afraid to go to the grocery store since she's worried that ICE might question her or illegally detain her. And hearing her say that to me genuinely broke my fucking heart into a million pieces, because my niece is one of the most strong and confident people I've ever known. So the thought of these fascist pricks breaking her spirit was almost too much for me to bear. Now, to be clear, my niece is a US citizen, but she's a Latina. And the fact that she and people who look like her, regardless if they're citizens or not, are worried to just go out in public because they're afraid that they're going to be racially profiled by Trump's Gestapo is infuriating, to put it mildly. But with that being said, within these first 2 weeks of Trump's administration, good people around the country have made it very clear. If you want to get to them, you're going to have to go through us first. And this unwillingness to stand down in the face of fascism has actually thrown a wrench in Trump's mass deportation plans. But don't take it from me. Take it from Trump's immigration czar, Tom Homan.
Sanctuary cities are making it very difficult to arrest the criminals. For instance, Chicago, very well educated. They've been educated how to defy ICE, how to hide from ICE. And I've seen many pamphlets from many of the NGOs. Here's how you escape ICE from arresting you. Here's what you need to do. They call it Know Your Rights. I call it How to Escape Arrest. There's a warrant for your arrest, and they tell you how to hide from ICE. No, don't open your door. Don't answer questions.
That's right, asshole. We are going to make sure that they know their rights. And the fact that so many immigrants are informed has inhibited Trump's ability to deport as many people as he'd like, which has led to officials issuing quotas in order to pressure ICE to ramp up the arrests. So immigrant rights activists have already made it very difficult for this administration to deport people simply by informing everyone about their rights. And for good measure, I'm going to say it again. You have the right to remain silent. If they ask to search you, you have the right to ask them for a warrant, and you should. If they ask you to sign something, don't. If you have papers, carry them with you at all times. And I'm going to link you to English and Spanish scripts down below from the ACLU. I would encourage you to memorize them. Also, if you're a citizen and you see ICE, yell La Migra as loud as you can to notify immigrants in the vicinity that the Gestapo is here. Let them know of the Gestapo's presence, and you will make them safer. Everyone getting on the same page right now about this, that is one way to push back, and it's already having an effect in a concrete way. But I don't want to paint too rosy of a picture because this administration's mass deportation effort has only just begun. But they will get increasingly aggressive as time goes on. In fact, Tom Homan has made it very clear he is going to go into schools if need be.
Middle schools, elementary schools, you going to go into those?
How many MS-13 members are the age of 14 to 17? Many of them. So, look, if it's a national security threat, public safety threat, and what you need to understand is a case by case.
Case by case. In other words, yes, we will send our immigration Gestapo into schools and pull children out of classrooms to deport them. Now, there is going to be a time where that's probably going to come, but right now, they're treading carefully because they saw how severe the backlash was when Trump implemented family separation policy the last time he was president. I mean, the pictures of children crying as they were being torn away from their parents led to national outrage and forced them to end the program abruptly. But now that enough time has passed and most Americans support mass deportations again, they're trying to maintain public support as long as they possibly can, not because the Trump administration cares what the public thinks, but because actual resistance, people protesting and putting their bodies on the line, that is going to make it so much more difficult for them to deport as many people as they say they want to deport. So they're starting slowly, and they're trying to maintain a consistent flow of propaganda in order to maintain consent from the masses as long as they can. And as you saw, he only raised the specter of going into schools insofar as a teenager was a member of MS-13. So right now, they're trying to prime you to think that every single immigrant that they're deporting is a criminal, even kids. And that is on purpose. Right now, Dr. Phil and Fox News are going on ICE ride-alongs to document the criminals they're deporting, rapists, murderers, and whatnot, so as to create this impression that it's only the bad guys that are being deported, but that is pure propaganda. I need you to understand that. They want all of them gone. They have admitted this time and time again. In fact, just this week, Lauren Beetlejuice Boebert, a sitting lawmaker, said the only DEI she supports is deporting every illegal. No human being is illegal. Fuck you for saying that, by the way. But she's not making this distinction between criminals and non-criminals. Most Republicans, including Trump, no longer even make the distinction between documented and undocumented immigrants. They want them all gone, unless they're white. So you have to be cognizant of the show that they're putting on for all of us. It serves two main purposes. It pacifies the masses and it instills fear in immigrant communities. And immigrant activist Amy Torres was on Democracy Now! And I think that she put it best.
If you are a bystander and you see ICE in your neighborhood, you see ICE on your block, you take out your phone and you start filming, because if Dr. Phil can do it, you better bet that you can do it too. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is an administration that is built for the billionaire class. Yes, ICE's current directives are built on racism. It's built on the post 9/11 nationalism that bore Department of Homeland Security to begin with. But this is also a gift to private prison corporations. That's very true here in New Jersey, where the world's largest private prison corporation, CoreCivic, is looking to expand its footprint and to challenge our ban on immigration detention. It's true in Newark, where Geo Group, one of the other largest private prison corporations, is looking to expand here in Newark, New Jersey, and in other cities across the state. So yes, whether it's 100 arrests a day or 1,000 arrests a day, it is built on fear, so that if we can't detain people for profit, we are detaining them in the isolation of their own homes. We are segregating them from society. We are making people so fearful that they're withdrawing their kids from school. They're too fearful to see a doctor. They're too fearful to go to their pharmacy. You know, outside of Newark, we had a pharmacy raid in Paterson here in New Jersey just this weekend. And what that does is segregate society so that if the federal administration can't physically remove you, you are physically removing yourself into a shadow economy, into places where you can't stand up or you don't feel confident standing up for your rights.
Yeah. So if the rest of us are separated from immigrant communities and we're only being fed imagery of criminals being deported, we're more likely to support mass deportation. It's called manufacturing consent. And even though immigrants will be harmed the most, citizens are also going to be victimized by Trump's Gestapo as well, which is why this propaganda effort is all the more important. But on that note, citizens have already been swept up in Trump's mass deportation. I say this because last week in Newark, there was a disastrous ICE raid at a seafood depot where Trump's Gestapo stormed in without a warrant and detained multiple people, including, by the way, U.S. citizens and a U.S. veteran. Now, they did pick up undocumented workers as well, but we don't actually know if they were criminals as well. Neither does ICE, apparently. So the raids are not targeted, contrary to popular belief, and the goal is to make everyone, including citizens, feel panic and scare everyone into giving up their neighbors. But that can't happen if we are a united front and everybody knows their rights. And it just goes to show you that, you know, it's not just the criminals being targeted, even if they want you to think that that is the case. But if they do nab a criminal, they are going to publicize it as much as possible to give you the impression that that's indicative of most detentions and deportations. But that is propaganda, right? But as it stands right now, Trump's administration, they still think that they have a mandate since public support currently is on their side. And they're trying to do as much as they can before the honeymoon period is over. And make no mistake about it, that day will come. And Anand Giridharadas described on MSNBC what he believed would be the tipping point for Americans where they would withdraw consent from mass deportations.
When you start having Gestapo raids in America, and we start becoming a country where, as in East Germany, a knock on the door is the thing people are thinking about instead of the brilliant idea they want to go create, then we are moving very, very far from the president worrying about what regular people need, right? He is distracting people with this flurry of activity, but none of these images you're seeing are going to make your life better. None of these things, contrary to popular belief, have anything to do with the still high price of eggs. None of these things will make it easier to start a business. None of these things will make it easier for people to get the education they need, change their lives, leave their kids better off. This is all a distraction shock and awe, as you said earlier, so that Donald Trump can do one thing. And you saw it at the inauguration, telegraphed to you. Enrich his billionaire cronies, enrich his oligarch friends. That is what he is actually doing when he's not busy releasing his crypto coins. And all of this is sort of bread and circuses for people to stare at while he's robbing you from the back.
And that is a very, very important point. So many lives are going to be destroyed by this administration. And after seeing tens of thousands, if not millions of immigrants get deported, the Americans who yearned for mass deportation are going to be forced to come to the realization that even though more immigrants are gone, their lives still aren't getting better, right? They were told that the immigrants were to blame for all of their problems, but they were deported. Trump said he deported all the criminals at least. And at some point, that will be evidence that they were sold a lie. And they're going to have to decide whether or not they should believe their own lived experience or the propaganda that they were fed. But if and when they come to that realization, it will only be temporary, because as a nation, collectively, we have the memory of a goldfish. So we're going to have a small window of time to act, and that is when we all have to pounce. We have to help them become class conscious and explain to them that immigrants aren't their enemy. They never were. Billionaires are all of our common enemy. It is incumbent on all of us to get them to understand that they have more in common with every immigrant than a single billionaire. And not all of them are going to be receptive to that message. But we have to at least try. And I think that our odds of success and getting them to understand that are going to increase if we start planting those seeds right now.
You know, the similarities to Germany, 1933, what's happening now and what went on back then, they shouldn't be lost on us, okay? The similarities are there. Okay, I mean, if history can't be more obvious right now than it is. I mean, it's directly repeating a mistake that we should have learned from. Okay, we're falling right into that line, and it's because we're being led by an idiot, a man who probably has no fucking idea about history or cared about it, but he's going to make these same missteps that Adolf Hitler did. And even back in 1933, there were people who would notify the brown shirts of a Jew. Oh, there's a Jew here, or something. And they would go get him or her or whatever. Okay? We're doing that right now. This teacher's doing just what they did back then. Okay? He's ratting out his own students. I mean, what a piece of shit. They're just kids, for Christ's sake. All right? But I told you a long time back, maybe more than once, that Texas is very racist towards Hispanic people down there. Very racist. It was that bad. It was bad back when I was there. It's even worse today. Okay? And so it doesn't surprise me that this happens in Fort Worth, Texas, okay? I'm not shocked. But the thing is that what's going on with this rounding up of people and fucking Dr. Phil, I never liked the guy to begin with. I like him even less now, okay? Why he's doing this, I don't know. He's not like the most liked person in this country. A lot of people don't like him. And during the campaign, he was backing Trump. You know what I'm saying? The guy's a fucking idiot. One of Oprah Winfrey's biggest mistakes, I think. But yeah, him going along with ICE to try to make it all look kosher, okay? Like, oh, we're the good guys and these are all the bad guys, okay? Come on, Phil, first of all, we know you're not a doctor, okay? You didn't get a degree in psychology, okay? That's just your nickname for your TV show, but you're not even a fucking doctor, all right? But to do this, to take your celebrity status, whatever you have of it, and just go down there and start working with ICE, okay? That looks so stupid. It looks so, kissing the ass of ICE, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it looks so sick. All right, and I can't imagine why anybody after seeing him doing that, they'd even bother watching his tough fucking TV show after that. Okay, I think that this really would seal his fate, or at least it should anyway. I mean, if this happened in any other time in the past, okay, Dr. Phil's program would be cut right off the air. Okay, they'd never renew it. That'd be it. The end. okay? But this is the era we live in where stuff like that, it'll be accepted, okay? But, you know, they round up all these people. They send them to Guantanamo, where we put the terrorists, back when, you know, I was in the military, okay? We were putting terrorists there, and they were being mistreated. A lot of them were there. They were there for no reason at all. It's just because they looked like a terrorist, and they were arrested, and they were brought there, and they were tortured, waterboarded. You know, we know it was a big controversy there going on about that. Well, what do you think's going to happen if you bring these people there? They're going to do the same fucking shit all over again. For, you know, and it's like, look, maybe there's a reason why they chose Guantanamo, because it's off U.S. soil, in essence, okay? They can do what they want there, and there'd be nobody around to be able to check up on what's going on. The press, you know, won't be allowed there because it's a compound. It's controlled by the military, okay? They can do all this stuff hidden where nobody would ever find out about a damn thing. I mean, if they want to burn people in there, you know, like some people are worried that's going to happen. If they wanted to burn people in Guantanamo, hey, nobody'd be able to know what was happening. So that's probably the reason why they chose Guantanamo to send these people there instead of, you know, putting people in the state somewhere, because, you know, there's always scrutiny there, you know, if they had a facility in the United States. But I'm sure there's a, you know, really good reason they sent them there, and I think it's got to do with that, is that it's more guarded. You know, people just can't go there, and it's got military protection. So if anybody's there and they getting too close, they can get shot at. I mean, you saw what happened to Michael Moore when he tried to go down there. You know, they were, you know, if they had gotten any closer, there'd have been bullets flying. So, you know, there's no way to actually gauge what the hell will be going on in that thing, but you know it won't be good, okay? And for how long are they going to have to stay there? You know, I don't think Guantanamo is big enough to hold millions of fucking, you know, immigrants, you know. So what exactly are they going to do there with these people? And I don't see the press out there really asking any questions about that, okay? And I feel like, you know, hey, give me the fucking microphone. Let me interview these cocksuckers, okay? I mean, sure, they may not want to answer me, but I'll be asking the questions nobody else will dare to ask, okay? And that's the thing that we need to do as a nation. When you know, because we got a press, right? We're supposed to have a free press. Well, the free press ain't acting so free these days. They're acting like they're under somebody's thumb, okay? And that being the case, we don't have a free press anymore, okay? What we got is a propaganda machine. All right, and I think that because they act this way, they've twisted people's heads around this country here, both Democrat and Republican. They've gotten people so twisted and messed up in what they believe that, you know, it's come back. Karma's come back now. Now all that neglect and all that change in the way we handle our news. Now look at the population. We're picking idiots to be leaders. Okay. But, you know, you got kids right now harassing Hispanic students, you know, making fun of them, you know, because they say, oh, you're going to be deported, they're going to come and get you and arrest you, and they're laughing. You know, these incidents have been reported here in different parts of the country, you know, because kids are cruel, right? That's the way they are when they're small. But you know, the same things happen in Germany, where you had kids, you know, laughing at Jewish kids being rounded up and put into trains and whatnot, and, you know, shipped off to, you know, wherever. And it's happening here, you know, and I can't understand why people just don't fucking understand why they ain't making that connection, you know. Why is it that it eludes them? Okay, we talk so, I mean, fucking internet, YouTube has got goddamn, you know, millions of hours of World War II documentaries. You could spend the rest of your life watching all the documentaries about every analytical view of the war, what happened in Germany, all these things. And with all that online to watch, nobody learned a fucking thing. Nobody's watching it. Nobody learned anything about that, and or how Germany ended up doing what it's doing. It's all laid out there, everything, step by step. Okay? But nobody takes the time to even watch it. Nobody cares to learn about history because nobody values it. So we're doomed to repeat it. That's what we're doing right now. We're repeating it. And I feel bad for all these people and these kids, and and it's only going to get worse from here. It's just starting. Like Kyle had said, in the other video, this is just beginning here. And I mean, Trump's only been president for what, a week and a half or so. It's just starting. People are wondering how much worse is it going to get. Well, you don't want to ask that question because it's going to get bad. I told you, by the end of this year, things are going to be, like a hot potato all over the place. All right? There's going to be a lot of fucking anger. There's going to be a lot of strife, And I'll tell you right now, I don't feel like people who wear those red MAGA hats really should be wearing them anymore. Honestly, I'm warning you, okay? There's people out there who would really just look at that, get incensed, and come after you. I don't care if you're a woman wearing that silly hat or a guy wearing it. I don't care. Even if you got a bumper sticker on your car that says I voted for Trump or some kind of pro-Trump thing, again, you're going to be a target, and you should be aware of that as Trump continues to anger the American population, the blowback is going to begin on the Trump supporters, and then it's going to end up on Trump's doorstep. That's how it's going to go. So, people, you voted for Trump, fine. But I wouldn't tell anybody that too much later, and I wouldn't wear anything that says you supported him, because you're going to be putting your life in jeopardy. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's like, me walking around with a swastika on my arm. I mean, somebody is going to get offended pretty damn quick, and I don't want to see these kind of things happening in the country, but be aware of that. Don't be an arrogant and ridiculous loyalist, and put your life or your family's life in jeopardy because you're driving around with a fucking flag that says Trump on it. Okay, don't do that. Okay, take that shit down. The election's over. You got what you wanted. Take all that stuff off. Okay, because I'm telling you right now, you people out there, you're going to be putting your life in your hands. There's no pride in that anyway. Christ, especially at the end of the year, you'll understand where I'm coming from, because you're going to see it. You're going to experience the shit that he's going to do, and then you'll say, yeah, he was right. So that's my advice to you. Save your life first. You don't want to get in any trouble like that. So I guess that's it to say here about that. I mean, there's so much that goes on in lately in the news now. I mean, it's hard to keep up. I'm sure 15 news stories just came up here while I'm sitting here talking and recording this. I need an army of people just to cover everything. Christ. All right, so that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. So subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for any health-related issues. And please treat each other well. Don't step on anybody's toes. These are very sensitive times, and a lot of people are going to be under a great deal of stress. So if you look at them cross-eyed or something, you could get in trouble. I don't know. Just people are going to be very on edge. So I'll talk to you all later. Take care. Bye-bye.